ChatGPT has taken the world by storm. It can write emails, do your homework for you, so many things. But can AI write a stand-up comedy routine that is actually funny? Today I put ChatGPT up to this task. I have asked it to write 3 stand-up comedy routines it will perform for you today. First, I asked ChatGPT to write a stand-up comedy routine about internet culture because I figured ChatGPT, being a piece of software, being trained on text that it has scraped from the internet, would understand internet culture. And this is what it came up with.
Hey folks, have you noticed how the internet has completely changed the way we communicate? I mean, I remember the days when you had to pick up a phone and actually talk to someone to make plans. Now, you just send a group text and hope that everyone responds before the plans change again. And don't even get me started on social media. I feel like my entire life is just one big highlight reel. I post the good stuff and pretend like everything is perfect. Meanwhile, in real life, I'm sitting at home in my pajamas, eating cold pizza and wondering why my ex-boyfriend liked that girl's Instagram post from 2 years ago. Let's talk about online dating. I feel like I'm in a never-ending game of hot or not. Swipe left, swipe right. It's like playing a slot machine, but instead of winning money, you just get rejected. And finally, the memes. Oh, the memes. I don't think I've ever laughed so hard at something so pointless. But hey, at least it's a distraction from the real world, because let's face it, if we're all stuck in our houses, we might as well laugh at pictures of cats with captions on them. Thanks for listening, folks. I'll be here all week.
So yeah, not very funny, is it? But it does resemble a stand-up comedy routine. There are definitely attempts at jokes. They look like attempts at jokes. So after this, I decided to try again, this time asking ChatGPT with a prompt that I thought might yield better results. My thinking is that since ChatGPT is trained off of data, that it might create better results if you ask it to produce something that might already exist in its training data. So I try to think of topics that would be common topics for actual stand-up routines that might be stored in its training data. And I figured a lot of comedians love talking about their children and their funny antics. So I asked ChatGPT to write a stand-up comedy routine about children, and this is what it wrote.
Hey folks, have you noticed how kids these days are just so different? I mean, when I was a kid, we had to entertain ourselves. We had to go outside and play with sticks and rocks. But now, kids have smartphones and tablets and all sorts of devices to keep them occupied. It's like they're living in a different world. And don't even get me started on picky eaters. I feel like I'm a short order cook. I have to make a different meal for every person in my house. And when you finally make something that everyone likes, the next day, they decide they don't like it anymore. Let's talk about homework. I feel like I'm back in school. I'm trying to help my kids with their homework and I'm like, I don't remember any of this stuff. But then I realize I never learned it in the first place. And finally, the discipline. Oh, the discipline. I don't think I've ever been so frustrated. It's like talking to a wall. But hey, at least it's a distraction from the real world. Because let's face it, if we're all stuck at home, we might as well yell at our kids. Thanks for listening, folks. I'll be here all week.
Again, not funny, but again, still sounds like a stand-up routine. Just not a very good one. So I decided to give it one more try. This time, I just decided to throw a curveball. A topic that is just random. Uh, Basically, just try to come up with an animal at random just to see what it would do with it. So for the last routine, I asked ChatGPT to produce a stand-up comedy routine about foxes. And this is what it came up with.
Hey, folks. Have you ever noticed how sly foxes are? They're always sneaking around trying to get into your chicken coop or raid your trash cans. I mean, they're like the burglars of the animal kingdom. And don't even get me started on how they look. They're like the chameleons of the animal kingdom. They can change their coat color to blend in with their surroundings. I mean, I can't even match my clothes half the time. And these foxes are like, oh, it's winter? Let me change to white fur. Let's talk about how smart they are. Foxes are known for their intelligence. They can solve complex problems and adapt to different environments. It's like they're the geniuses of the animal kingdom. Meanwhile, I'm over here getting outsmarted by a fox. And finally, the cunning. Oh, the cunning! They are always one step ahead of their prey and hunters. But hey, at least it's a distraction from the real world. Because, let's face it, if we're all stuck in our houses, we might as well watch foxes outsmarting everyone on nature documentaries. Thanks for listening, folks. I'll be here all week.
So at the end of these three routines, what do we take away from this? First, ChatGPT can't really be funny, not intentionally at least. Time will tell if this will change or improve, but my impression right now is that it's just not something it will ever be capable of doing. The comedy is tough enough even for humans, even for seasoned comedians. So I don't ever really predict that ChatGPT or any language model or really any AI could ever really develop a sense of humor and be intentionally funny to a human being. Now, maybe machines can develop their own sense of humor and develop jokes that are funny to other machines, but I don't really predict that they will ever be seen as truly funny to a human audience. Again, intentionally. Unintentional humor, on the other hand, certainly. Now, the second thing that I took away from this experiment is that ChatGPT seems to rely on formulas and structures. If you look at these three routines side by side, as I have presented them here, I think you would notice some reoccurring phrases and structures. These whole routines feel to me a bit like a Mad Lib story. where there is just these predetermined beats that it tries to hit, and it just kind of fills in the thoughts with related topics to the prompt that I inputted. So I mean, each routine has the same number of paragraph breaks and basically follows the same rhythm every time. First, it starts with a "Hey folks," and then a question with the first words being "Have you noticed?" and then asking a question about the topic it's talking about. It will also use phrases like "Don't get me started" or "Let's talk about." And even, and this one was an odd one for me, "If we're all stuck in our houses" is a phrase they use in every single one of these routines, which is kind of a crazy phrase, I think, to use in a stand-up comedy routine, which would normally be performed in a comedy club. I'm guessing a lot of its training data that it's working off from here was maybe taken during the pandemic times in which we were all stuck in our houses. So it somehow caught on to that. It just seems to have in its training data all of this information pertaining to the lockdown that is probably just going to be stuck in there. But it is something that permeated in every single one of these routines that we as humans are just stuck in our houses, and that's funny, I guess. So in conclusion, so that is ChatGPT does stand up. Did it pass? Did it fail? Did it make you chuckle? Do you believe that robots can become the next stand-up comedians? Would you go to a comedy club to watch machines do stand-up at some point in the future? Please let me know what you think in the comment section down below and subscribe to this channel for more content. So long.